there will be hints of a new currency, hints that it will be backed by gold, but I don't think anything will emerge from the BRICS Summit meeting in August. The focus will be on de-dollarization, i.e., how we are going to develop our systems that exclude the dollar.
The anticipation surrounding the new BRICS currency has surged after a report by Russian news outlet RT, suggesting that the BRICS economic bloc is preparing to introduce a gold-backed currency, with an official announcement expected to be made during the Leaders' Summit scheduled for August 22nd to 24. Simon Hunt believes that there might be hints of a new currency backed by gold coming in the future. However, he thinks nothing significant will happen at the BRICS Summit meeting in August, as the main focus will be reducing the influence of the US dollar on global trade. The yet-to-be-launched BRICS currency could be backed by gold, and the bloc of 5 nations is stockpiling the precious metal. In the last 18 months, the BRICS nations have increased their gold buying expenditure to end reliance on the US dollar. Hunt sees the world divided into 2 groups: the G7 nations dominated by the US dollar and the growing group of BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, seeking more independence. He believes the BRICS nations comprise a significant portion of the world's economy and population. These countries are trying to create a different system, not controlled solely by the US. Less than a decade and a half since its foundation, BRICS countries have demonstrated how far they have come, surpassing the G7 wealthy industrialized nations in GDP in 2022 and setting up cooperative pathways and institutions to ensure members' ability to withstand pressure by third parties aimed at harming their economies. Hunt believes that BRICS wants to create a system that the US does not solely control, and one of their goals is to establish a new currency that could be widely used among the BRICS countries and possibly adopted by many other nations outside the G7. We will now bring you clips from Simon Hunt's interview with Soar Financially. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, ensure you smash the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell for more videos. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Well, I think the fundamental trend is how the world is being divided into 2 blocks. First, you have the dollar-dominated world of the G7, and now you have the growing, what I call the new world of BRICS Plus. There's an important meeting coming up later in August, where there should be gathering not just the 5 BRICS members, but probably another 30-odd countries. And if you add them all up, they account for something like 35% of global GDP and about 60% of the world's population. And what they are busy evolving is a multilateral world as opposed to America's unilateral world, and where over time they will develop a currency that will become universal to the BRICS members, who probably by 2030 will be accounting for most countries outside the G7. And they will develop a separate currency to the US dollar, which will probably be gold-backed. But initially, the development is going to be how their members and other countries can settle trade outside the US dollar. And they will probably do that by setting up their own payment messaging systems so that trade does not have to go through the SWIFT by using the US dollar. What will probably emerge is that not only the BRICS countries, but the other 25 to 30 countries that will be attending either have developed their own payment messaging systems or are in the process of so doing. That, I think, is going to be the big message that comes out of Johannesburg. The development of a single currency backed by gold, I don't think that they have achieved the mechanisms necessary for that to evolve. And whether it's going to be a one currency, a new currency backed by gold, or whether it will be the renminbi and the ruble backed by gold, I don't think has yet been decided. So the focus first is de-dollarization, and then subsequently how the BRICS Secretariat can develop a single currency backed by gold. Does not necessarily mean convertible into gold, but backed by gold.
According to Simon Hunt, many people need to fully appreciate the significant gold reserves held by China and Russia. He emphasizes that China's gold reserves amount to over 50,000 tons, roughly half of which Chinese households and institutions have through purchases from the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Various Chinese ministries, including the People's Liberation Army, PLA, hold the rest. Similarly, Russia's gold reserves exceed 12,000 tons, with the central bank having only a small portion, and the rest is managed by a separate company overseeing the central bank. Hunt predicts that the BRICS group will expand significantly over the next 5 to 10 years, and by around 2030, the most significant commodity-producing countries might become members of BRICS. This expansion would likely change the dynamics of global financial and commodity markets. Looking into the ongoing economic crisis, Hunt believes it could persist for about 7 years. During this crisis, he believes that the BRICS countries might take the opportunity to launch a gold-backed currency, implying that they could use their substantial gold reserves to create a stable and independent financial system. Let's get back to the interview.
Many people don't appreciate the magnitude of both China and Russia's gold reserves. For China, it's north of 50,000 tons, of which in round numbers, about half is held by Chinese households and institutions buying gold through the Shanghai Gold Exchange, with the balance being held by different Chinese ministries, including the PLA. And for Russia, exactly the same. The central bank only holds a small fraction of Russia's total reserves, which are north of 12,000 tons, with the balance being held by the company that oversees the central bank. I mean, basically what South America or most South American countries want is what the Gulf countries have started doing. We want you out. We're doing things our way, not your way. And I think what we will see over the next 5-odd years, we will see a massive enlargement of BRICS, and probably by 2030, most commodity producing countries of any significance will be members of BRICS. What then happens? So we can turn Treasury Secretary Connolly's famous quip, "The dollar is our currency, but your problem." We can turn it on its head, because by then, BRICS will say commodities are our assets, but your problem. you out of the crisis, which is probably going to last 7 years. I mean, it's not 7 years downhill all the way, just as 1929 to just as the Great Depression wasn't downhill all the way, but the trend is downhill. It's what emerges out of that crisis that will be so important. And that's where I think it's during the crisis that BRICS will launch its gold-backed currency.
7 years from now, by 2030, the BRICS countries are expected to account for over 50% of the world's nominal GDP, thus further strengthening their positions as the world's most economically powerful economic bloc. What are your thoughts on a new BRICS currency backed by gold? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and enable notifications to stay informed about our latest videos on silver, gold, and copper. Thank you for watching, and we appreciate your support.